Out of all the replacement singers that came and went throughout Crashdiet's long history, no one did it better than Simon Cruz. No one came close to matching what this man brought to the table. And with yet another new singer joining this band, I find myself scratching my head and wondering, why hasn't Simon returned to this great band? Where exactly is Simon Cruz? No doubt this question has been on the minds of every Crashdiet fan for the last decade. Why did he leave? Where did he go? And what is he doing now? I feel like out of every singer that's come and gone, Simon was the singer that understood Dave's vision the most. Everything from his iconic look to how he performed on a stage, how he presented himself in the music videos was all top marks. Even the songwriting in his time with the band was just on another level and in line with the vision Dave started out with. In my opinion, Simon's time in the band was Crashdiet's best era, and in this video I'm going to dive into why I think that is. But before we get into it, if you could like the video, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment, it'll help this channel and the video out a great deal. And with that said, let's get on with it. When the torch was passed to Simon, he ran with it, giving Crashdiet their highest position in the charts to date with their iconic albums Generation Wild and The Savage Playground. Crashdiet, if you're not familiar, are a sleaze rock band from Sweden who played a pivotal role in the revival of the glam metal genre. They were the first band of their kind to be signed to a major label since the decline of the genre in the 90s. Back in the early 2000s, Crashdiet signed a deal with the mecca of all labels, Universal Music, and burst onto the scene in 2005 with their debut album, Rest in Sleaze, putting their unique spin on the genre with their brand of glam metal known as sleaze. Sleaze is basically an evolution of glam metal, but it has a more hard-edged approach to its lyrics and sound. But just as Crashdiet had made it to the big time, their lead singer Dave Leppard tragically unalived himself. On January 20th, 2006, the world lost one of the greatest frontmen of our time. A rock star, a poet, and a hero to many, myself included. Deciding to continue on after the death of Dave, the remaining members of Crashdiet went on the hunt for a new frontman around mid to late 2006. They set their sights on Jailbait frontman, Mr. Simon Cruz. A 6'4" bleach blonde rock god in the making fronting a kick-ass band. He was a singer, songwriter and multi-instrumentalist. He had everything. He had the look and he had the pipes to match. He was Crashdiet's #1 choice to take over singing duties, but at this time he decided to turn them down and continue on with his then current band, Jailbait. And so, Crashdiet went with their second choice, singer of Finnish rock band Reckless Love, Mr. Oliver H. Twisted, better known today as Olli Herman. In 2007, the band put out their second album, The Unattractive Revolution, fronted by Olli. The Unattractive Revolution era was a weird time for the band. Their unique style of glam metal sleaze clashed with the happy-go-lucky David Lee Roth-inspired Olli, and if you watch the Unattractive Revolution DVD, you could clearly see that Olli was visibly freaked out by some of the antics and lunacy that went on around him. Personally, I think the band was still in mourning, and Olli had found himself in an unusual set of circumstances. Olli Herman and Crashdiet would eventually part ways, and so, it was back to the drawing board for Crashdiet. But in 2009, rumblings began of a mysterious new singer. Who would be replacing Olli? Whoever he was, there was no way he was going to be able to fill Dave's shoes. Olli was good, but if he couldn't replace Dave, no one could. But that thought went straight out the window the minute I heard the song Caught in Despair. Caught in Despair was uploaded to MySpace on July 13th, 2009, and it's fair to say it blew everyone out of the water along with any doubt about the capabilities of this new singer. Just have a listen to this. As a young aspiring singer myself at the time, this song left me speechless. It was so good and on point it gave me goosebumps. That opening vocal high that out of nowhere goes even higher to the crash of the bottle to deliver us the hard-hitting lyrics of the song. Looking back, this song was way deeper than it appeared. I could be way off, but these lyrics seemed to be laying everything out on the table for the fans. The song was a decent explanation as to why everything had gone sideways for the band. Check these lyrics out. How will I explain this to all the restless youth, unable to rat out the unattractive truth? How do I explain to the fans that we let them down, the unattractive revolution didn't come out quite how we pictured it? These twisted fools won't go away, an itch like a zit in a crack. Pressures from the label, possibly, demands to meet deadlines, all that kind of stuff. Bright white teeth shining up the day, yet we're still way off track. Olli's big positive smile and vibes clashes with us. He's good, but he's not the right fit, but what choice have we got? Before you condemn me, try walking in my shoes. Caught in despair. We're still mourning the loss of Dave. Everything is a mess. There was a big decision to be made and we felt we had to do something. It's all very deep and powerful, but either way, Simon delivered the message beautifully. This song left me hungry for more, but this one song is all we got that year. The following year was a game changer for the band. In 2010, CRASHDIET released their third album, Generation Wild. Generation Wild was released on the 14th of April 2010, and let me just say this, it was everything the Unattractive Revolution should have been for both the band and the fans. Everything from its music to how the band is presented to its front cover is 10 out of 10. Its front cover is fantastic, it jumps straight out at you. We've got a rocker dude sitting in his bedroom littered with posters of old school CRASHDIET performing some sort of seance to the CRASHDIET Anarchy logo. If you look closely to the left of the room, there's a poster of Simon's old band, which I thought was a cool nod. It certainly seemed like Simon had a fair amount of creative input when it came to this album, because whatever was lacking on the Unattractive Revolution was remedied on this album. The Unattractive Revolution for me fell short. The Unattractive Revolution was not a bad album by any stretch, but it didn't meet, nor did it rise above the standard of greatness that Rest in Sleaze was. It didn't really follow the lore of what this band was all about, and to tell the truth, I often forget it exists. Now I could be wrong, but to me Ollie seemed like just another hired gun who was far too green to be put in the captain's chair of what essentially was the flagship band for the new wave. Ollie was a man who was clearly raised on rot and the good time positivity that glam metal was all about in the 80s, but CRASHDIET and a lot of the bands that came up in the new wave are a different animal to all of that. Ollie certainly done his best, but in my opinion was far better suited to his old band Reckless Love, and that's where he ultimately ended up. Simon was a bit different. He wasn't green like Ollie. He had already been in a number of bands, most notably Jailbait, before ending up in CRASHDIET. But he also understood the assignment, and he understood Dave's vision and the lore of this great band. And this is one of the reasons why Generation Wild turned out to be the success that it was. The other is that Generation Wild had an incredible team behind it. The mixing was done by Tobias Lundell, the mastering was done by Dragan Tazkovic, and its engineering was done by Stefan Sandstorm. A great bunch of lads with a long history in music production. The album was mastered at Bose Sounding Recording Studios in Sweden. The album was clearly in excellent hands. Generation Wild for me feels like the rightful successor to Rest in Sleaze, not only for its artwork and singer, but for its songs. Much like the songs on Rest in Sleaze, Generation Wild's tracks are filled with energy, nuance and emotion. There are so many amazing tracks on this album, but if I was forced to pick only one song, it would have to be Generation Wild. Generation Wild feels like a part 2 to Riot and Everyone, especially with lyrics like these. The kids of the underground are now rising from it. The fallen ones are back for more. The time is now. Shadows are dancing on the wall. What else are you gonna do? I love these lyrics and I love this song. But I also love Rebel. Rebel is a fantastic song with lots of attitude and vocal highs. This song is spitting bars of truth. Simon lets everybody know what it's truly been like to be a rebel without a cause. It really showcases Simon's versatility as a singer. Native Nature has a cool vibe to it as well. This guy's got the shakes. He's going stir crazy. He needs to get out of the house and party with the boys. This song is all about buying a big bag of cans, meeting up with your mates and getting meldy. As an Irishman, I can relate to this. What's it got to do with you? It's my native nature. This song is great. Savor is a song that caught me off guard. It's dark, it's emotional. It's the story of a woman who's ending her life and the reality that comes along with all of that. It was quite a bold move to write a song like this, especially when you consider the history of this band. As a whole, this album strikes the right balance of dark and gritty. It's sleaze rock at its finest. If you want to know what the difference between a regular glam metal album and the sleaze rock sound is, listen to Generation Wild. Generation Wild, the album, entered the charts on the 23rd of April 2010 and an incredibly high position on the mainstream charts in Sweden. It entered in at number 3 and spent 4 weeks battling it out. CRASHDIET were back on top, and it's a testament to the hard work of everyone involved. There were a number of music videos made to promote the album. There was one for Generation Wild the song, another for Hollywood Tease, and the odd unofficial fan-made video that would float around on YouTube. The video for Generation Wild, for its time, was quite ambitious, but perhaps went a little too far in its imagery, especially for TV. The opening of the video takes us underground to reveal our new singer, ball-gagged and tied to a chair, with a woman torturing him in all sorts of ways. She smacks him around, goes to the toilet in a bucket, then she throws what's in the bucket at him and then has a taste of it. Then she breaks out the old Milwaukee drill and sticks it right in his gut, then starts cutting him up with an electric cutting tool. The end of the video reveals that it was all a virtual reality. Funny that today we could probably do something like that because we now have the technology. This video was a look into a Demolition Man type future where you can't say anything or express yourself or have any real sex or fight without major repercussions. It certainly seems like today we're certainly headed that way, and maybe Generation Wild was foreshadowing all of that. As cool and as gnarly as this video is, depending on how your stomach is, you'll either dig it or be horrified by it. The video was quickly barred off MTV and no doubt a huge loss to the band. But in all honesty, with a video like Generation Wild, what were they expecting? Just picture it for a moment. There's kids coming home from school, they get in, throw their bag on the floor, jump on the sofa to turn on MTV. Oh boy, the new Crash Diet video, I can't wait to see this! And then what they see is a bunch of blood and guts. Mommy, Daddy, why is there an androgynous blonde being cut up with a Milwaukee drill and a cutting tool? They should have made two versions of this video. A safe version for MTV and an uncut version for a DVD and YouTube and possibly late night MTV. Some sort of compromise should have been made so that this song would get the exposure that it deserved. I've no doubt that the band could have done that, but for whatever reason they chose to go big or go home and paid the price. Personally though, I love the video. The music video for Hollywood Tease is also pretty good for what it is. It was shot on an iPhone, more than likely the 4S, which had an 8 megapixel camera, but the result was still pretty good. It looks like they shot it in their rehearsal space and in the hallways of the rehearsal space, and then whacked a bunch of filters over it. I genuinely really liked it, and I would argue that this video looks better than most modern music videos independent bands shoot today with their 4K cameras. There was also a music video for Savor, which I think is a fan-made video, which is a collection of footage of their live shows. It's a really great video. This band is known for two things: amazing music and amazing image, and I think Simon recognised this also. It's clear to me that careful attention and detail went into Simon's new look in Crash Diet. In his old band Jailbait, he had the bleach blonde Michael Monroe inspired layered hairdo. He stood out for sure, but if he was truly going to be a successor to Dave, he was going to need to take everything to the next level, and boy did he do just that. His new hair combined a mohawk and long hair together with a half-shaven undercut on one side revealing a pentacle tattoo. It was a look that screamed the right balance of beauty and power. He became a visual spectacle with his look, and it's a look that continued to evolve throughout his time in the band, evolving into an eventual full mohawk that draped over his face, creating an aura of mystique. How Simon navigated low ceilings and the weekly shop to Lidl with his hair draped over his face like that, I don't know, but I guess beauty is pain. The way he moved on a stage and in music videos accentuated his look and overall presence. In the music video for Generation Wild and the B-roll, careful attention to detail clearly went into showcasing Simon's new look. The angles were all chosen carefully and it made everything he was doing and himself in general look larger than life. Same with the video for Cocaine Cowboys. So much went into capturing the essence and aura that the band project with their look. It's one thing to dress the part, it's another to use it, and that's what Simon did. He made you believe in him. He sold you an idea of himself with his visuals, and he confirmed it in his actions and with his voice and the things he sang about. And that for me is the embodiment of a true rock star. When I buy a ticket for a gig, I want to go to that gig, look up at the stage and see someone I can believe in. Someone who can make me forget about the world, forget about my problems and make me feel better. And that's what Simon Cruz done for me. That's what Simon Cruz I think done for all of us. Something that fascinated me about Crash Diet on TV was that they were actually on TV. And not just MTV, but casual morning TV. Imagine it, people are getting up to go to work and right when they're about to sit down and eat their breakfast, just as their brain is still loading that 70%, they switch on the TV and they see a rock band on a morning show on one of the most popular TV stations in the country. Imagine it, a real band playing real rock and roll. It's a stark contrast to shows in my country like Ireland AM. To me, it was wild. One might say generationally wild, because in my country, bands like Crash Diet wouldn't get a look in on an afternoon show or a late night show, let alone a morning show. But it's something I wish Irish TV would think of doing. Throw out the rule book and stick a rock band on TV, for God's sake, and not just some shitty plain looking indie band. This. Give me this. Pretty please. In all honesty, I have not seen any frontman come close to a fraction of Simon's greatness. In my opinion, he's better than Prime Sebastian Bach, he's better than Prime Miljenko, and he's better than Eric Gromwall. In the Generation Wild era, he was untouchable. I'll say this now, he is one of the greatest frontman that has ever lived, period. You can get mad at me all you want in the comments for that, but no one has ever topped what I witnessed live with my own two eyes. He is on another level of greatness, and if CRASHDIET had come up in the 80s, they would be king shit on the hill right now. The night I seen him live, he moved like a Hulk, sang like an angel, and looked unreal. The energy in the place was absolutely electric, bordering on chaos, but Simon led the charge and handled everything with finesse. With Simon at the helm, CRASHDIET seemed unstoppable. The mission they had set out on with Dave Leppard to bring real rock and roll back was firmly back on track. They were on fire. In person, he was a true gent. He was incredibly nice to myself and my friends, as was the rest of the members who took the time to take photos with everyone. In fact, they did everything. They played the gig, they met with the fans, and they worked the merch tables. They're such a hard working band. During Simon's time in the band, CRASHDIET toured relentlessly. The best of these shows took place during the Generation Wild era. According to setlist.fm, the Generation Wild tour went from 2010 to 2012. It changed its name a few times, but that's the album they were touring. They played 121 shows all across the world, playing alongside such acts like Michael Monroe, Black Rain, Kissin' Dynamite, Motley Crue, Wednesday 13, The 69 Eyes, the list goes on. The Generation Wild tour was a great time and a very busy couple of years for the band. Near the end of 2012, CRASHDIET started uploading teaser type videos to show that they were working on a new album. Oh man, the excitement, the anticipation. I couldn't wait, and neither could my friends. The Savage Playground was released on February the 2nd, 2013. This 13-track album is a fantastic follow-up to Generation Wild. When Simon was given a second album, I felt as though he was a definite keeper. But despite how well he did with Generation Wild, it was definitely in the back of my mind that he may have been a one and done singer. Like, what if CRASHDIET decided to start a trend of hiring a new singer for every album, or even every couple of albums? Nah, that's a crazy thought, isn't it? Like, imagine if they'd done that. The cover of The Savage Playground is striking. There's so much going on. What's it all about? The front cover reminds me of that scene in Terminator 2 when Sarah Connor is looking into a playground, seeing her past self and a young John Connor. Her older self is on one side of the fence trying to warn her younger self about the impending doom that's about to come. Then suddenly a nuke goes off and everything gets blown to bits. The front cover of The Savage Playground looks like the aftermath of it all. Is that what they were going for? I don't know, but it's a cool album cover. Its crimson sky and grey clouds convey a sense of danger and mystery. What exactly are we in for here? The intro to the album, much like the video for Generation Wild, seemed to foreshadow a future that was to come. The future we live in now. These lyrics are scarily accurate to what the world is like now. What we see around us is a world made of lies. Reality is rarely experienced, it is escaped. Gashes of unbelief rattle our earthly path as we try to keep our illusions intact. Our human instinct kills our creed and eats our brains. Yes, we prey on the living. You can't escape the truth. You will soon awaken in the savage playground. Just have a look at all the lunatics on your TikTok, Instagram, Facebook or YouTube reel. Look at all the wars that have been started. Look at everything that's going on right now. It's crazy. The world is having a moment, to put it mildly, and maybe CRASHDIET's seen this coming a mile away. My favourite tracks from the Savage Playground are Change the World and Cocaine Cowboys together because they feel like the one song. I also like Lickin' Dog, Circus and Sin City. I think there are a lot of songs on Savage Playground that are absolutely perfect, but then there are other songs that I feel could have been given more consideration. Leading up to the album's release, CRASHDIET gave us teaser type demo releases on YouTube for some of the songs that would eventually appear on the album. And I think it's fair to say that these demos made everyone that much more excited for the album release. But honestly, I think I preferred a lot of these versions to the finished result. For example, I love the slightly lower tempo change of Change the World's demo. I feel like the demo version of the song had a different and darker vibe to the finished result on the album. Same deal with Sin City. The vibe it gave off is so different to what's on the album. Knowing CRASHDIET, there could be one or many versions of these songs that could have made it to the album. I just want to make this clear, The Savage Playground is a great album and a lot of the songs are fantastic, but judging by the demos, I honestly think it could have sounded a lot better had they have chosen to use different versions of some of the songs. Yeah, but what do I know? The Savage Playground entered the charts on February the 2nd, 2013 at position 2 and peaked at position 51. This has been Crashdiet's highest charting album to date, and Generation Wild is their second highest. For a band of their type to battle it out in the mainstream charts and earn such a high ranking, I don't think it gets much better than that. The Savage Playground was mastered by Mats Lindfors and mixed and produced by Otto Welton. The music videos for Savage Playground are creative, humorous, but also dark and powerful. The video for Cocaine Cowboys is a trip. It's great. Released a few months prior to the album, I remember watching this the day it came out. I remember exactly where I was. I was on my break at work watching it on my phone. I was bursting with excitement, but no one around me shared my enthusiasm. No one else except my friends. This song is clearly about Griselda Blanco. I remember a documentary that came out a few months before this album dropped, and I've always wondered if it was inspired by that. The whisper vocals at the breakdown are so cool, as is the guitar solo. It's just a great song. The music video is cool. We see the boys roll up in a van, all glammed up to the nines, ready to crash a lucrative business meeting. They burst through the front doors and quickly take care of business. Eric knocks out the big security guard and Peter shakes the life out of this big L one. Get out of the way, you big L bag you. They break into the meeting and kidnap the businessmen. Then the businessmen are taken to a new location. The band have their fun before calling in a squad of women with rifles. We think, hey, Crashdiet is holding all the cards here. But unfortunately, the dildo of consequence rarely comes lubricated. The women with the rifles turn on the boys and the shady businessmen come away unscathed. What does any of this mean? Don't deal drugs, I guess. I don't know. Either way, I really enjoyed this video. The song is great. It's cleverly written and composed. The music video for California. What's it all about? It's hard to say, but I'll give it a go. We've got an A-roll of Simon surrounded by photographs in a dimly lit room. I think these are his memories that he can't escape. We're inside his head. The B-roll is his day-to-day reality of touring, waking up after a night in the booze and hanging with the boys in between shows. And the C-roll, well, it's the lads in the studio shooting a video. Despite the partying and his obligations with the band, he can't get this woman out of his mind. There isn't really much to the video, but I think when you put the lyrics to it together, I think that's what the video is about. The video for Circus is a class video. It's a collection of videos from their tours. It's really cool. Crashdiet went out on the road again in 2013 to promote the Savage Playground album. The Savage Playground tour lasted from 2013 to 2015. They did 69 shows in 2013, 4 in 2014 and a final 2 in 2015. During this time, Crashdiet played with acts like Jet Black, Hell in the Club and Crucified Barbara. During the Savage Playground era, I feel like the live shows started to slip in quality just a little bit. I think all of the relentless touring, drinking and partying probably started to take its toll. Unfortunately, near the end of Simon's era, it started to show. Simon ended up leaving the band quite abruptly in 2015. In a statement released by the band, they said, "There's a reason for our lack of news lately. The reason is that Simon Cruz has left Crashdiet. Well, actually, he decided to leave in the midst of our mini tour in Japan, with no notice whatsoever. The last few months have been confusing to say the least, and we haven't been sure of what to make of this other than that our collaboration with Simon is over. And with that said, it really was over for the foreseeable future." A few years later, he was replaced by Gabriel Keys, and since that time, Crashdiet have released 2 albums. At the time of recording this video, Crashdiet have yet another brand new singer and a new drummer. It's got to be a world record at this point. The only other band that I can think to have such a revolving door of frontmen is Skid Row and maybe Yngwie Malmsteen's band. It fascinates me that Crashdiet can do this time and time again without losing a single fan, without anyone saying, hey, this isn't Crashdiet. But maybe they can do this because Crashdiet is more than just a band. It's a legacy. It's Dave's legacy, and we all want to keep it alive. So what if they are a proverbial ship of Theseus? So what if they are a forever changing entity? Does it really matter so long as it keeps going? How long will this new guy last? Who's to say? Gabriel did his best and kept the show running, but for me he was like a clone of Simon. His voice sounds very close to his, and ultimately it just made me wish it was Simon. There's no denying that Rust and Automaton are good albums. I like a lot of the songs in those albums, but they just don't beat Generation Wild or Savage Playground for me, and to my knowledge neither of those albums made the charts in Sweden. Will Crash Diet's new frontman John Elliott manage to do what Gabriel couldn't? There's no denying that Confess are a phenomenal band. Their 2017 release, Haunters, is among one of my top favourite albums of all time. John is a juggernaut of a singer, but does he have the drive and the creative freedom to lead Crash Diet to victory like Simon Cruz did all those years ago? I really do hope so. But when it comes time to pass the torch again, I would ask the remaining members of Crash Diet to consider passing it back to Simon. I think it's fair to say that I, like many fans, are hoping that Simon returns to the fold one day. Judging from his Instagram page, Simon Stodersome seems to live a simple, solitary life in the countryside now. He looks nothing like he used to, but he still makes music and has an album out under his real name, and I hope to pick up a copy of that album as soon as I can. The meaning of the name Cruz is primarily a name of Spanish origin. It basically means the cross of Christ. If Dave Leppard was the glam metal god in the Church of Crash Diet, Simon was our second coming. He was our Jesus doing the good Lord's work. When you think about it, it's a name that fitted Simon's role in Crash Diet perfectly. But maybe that role became all too encompassing, too overwhelming. Maybe he lost who he was in it. Maybe the rest of the members became too hard to work with. Maybe he chose his own mental health and well-being. I can only guess. But one thing I am sure of is that when Simon was at the helm of this great band, they thrived. And that's where I'm going to leave this documentary. If you liked the video, please consider giving the video a like, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. This has been Crash Diet's Best Era by Richie Kearns Productions. Thank you very much for watching.